This video is sponsored by CuriosityStream. So I want to start here. What Avengers Endgame was able to accomplish in 3-ish hours was mind-blowing. The story it told, the character arcs it was able to close out, the amount of action and fun fan service, it was terrific. I would never have imagined something like that was possible even 3 or 4 years ago. There are moments in that movie that will stick with me forever. And there were plenty of really impactful emotional beats. Spoiling it, obviously, there's the funeral for Tony Stark, there's Old Man Steve meeting Sam and Bucky on the bench, but I think Endgame was missing a moment, something important. And even though I understand why it didn't make it into the movie, I think it could have been done. I think it should have been done. So I want to walk you through my issue with Avengers Endgame and then describe the scene that would have addressed that issue. Here's the thing. Natasha, aka Black Widow, dies in Avengers Endgame, yet the team really never takes a proper moment to memorialize her. They mourn for her for a second once they return from their time heist, and at the end of the film, Clint and Wanda have an incredibly short moment where they both commiserate over the deaths of Natasha and Vision, but that's it. And Natasha deserves something, some kind of send-off. But there are 3 problems. Number 1, her death comes at a time in the narrative where it wouldn't make sense to have any kind of memorial service. The Avengers have just returned from the quantum realm with the Infinity Stones. They need to use the stones to bring everyone back immediately. Number 2, Tony Stark's death is a huge deal and it makes complete sense to have his funeral immediately following the end of the battle. Number 3, Natasha isn't Tony Stark. Not every character needs a big funeral, and it wouldn't feel fair to Natasha if hers was tacked on to Tony's. But I mean, seriously, this is Black Widow we're talking about. She deserves some kind of memorial something. She has accomplished so much over the course of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. She saved Rhodey, she interrogated Loki, she saved Hawkeye, she closed the portal over Manhattan, she saved Steve from Bucky, she exposed Hydra, she figured out the whole sun's getting real low thing, told the team where to find Ultron, she caught this bioweapon before it broke and killed everyone, she saved Steve and Bucky, she saved Wanda twice, and she got the Soul Stone. And on top of that, she did it all with a new hairstyle every movie, and she started doing this cool flying leg takedown thing, which admittedly is pretty silly, but now it's cool and everybody does it. Black Widow has been in more movies than Spider-Man, more movies than Ant-Man or War Machine or Hawkeye or Hulk. If you don't count the cameos, she's been in more movies than Nick Fury. Hell, she's been in as many of these movies as Cap and Thor. The only main character who's been in more movies than her is Tony Stark. And in the first and second Avengers movies, she had more screen time than Thor. Black Widow is a huge part of this universe, and it doesn't come up nearly enough. And it's not like the Marvel Cinematic Universe does not do funerals. We've got one for Tony, we've got one for Yondu, for Peggy Carter, for Frigga, a character who most people probably couldn't even name and didn't remember was in these until they saw her again in Endgame. And her funeral is great. It's probably the best part of that movie. Hell, Thor tells us that they mourned for Loki the first time he faked his death, and then the second time he faked his death, he got statues and a play, and yeah, he organized all of that because he was secretly Odin, but still, Natasha deserves something. Especially because, and I feel like this is so important, Natasha's journey in the MCU has honestly been one of the best. She's grown more than anyone besides maybe Tony. Iron Man 2, she's Natalie Rushman, a spy working for Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D., manipulating Tony, classic Widow, what we're familiar with from the comics. Then Avengers, she's a valuable member of the team, her skill sets put to good use. She makes friends, although considerably less than other Avengers, like I tweeted before, twitter.com/NandoVMovies. She doesn't say more than a couple words to Thor over the course of all of these, but she does get enough time to get familiar with the rest of the team. Yeah, she doesn't end up like a science bro or anything close to the battlefield camaraderie between Cap and Thor that is so much fun in future Avengers movies. She mostly spends time with Clint, still more agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. called the Spies Goodbye. One of the more memorable moments over the run of the entire show, when Bobby and Hunter leave the team. In universe, it's because they started an international incident and couldn't be part of S.H.I.E.L.D. anymore. In reality, it's because those characters were going to go start their own spin-off show called Marvel's Most Wanted that never saw the light of day, which is a huge shame, but then Adriana Padalecki was free to do the Orville, so it doesn't look like those characters are ever coming back. And even if they did, it would really cheapen this really beautiful moment where after Bobby and Hunter were forced out of S.H.I.E.L.D., they go to a bar to have a drink, and then the rest of the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents order them shots, and without saying anything, because that would be against the rules, they all toast to Bobby and Hunter before individually leaving, the last one being Mac, this moment that always gets me. And Bobby calls this gesture a Spies Goodbye. And since Natasha is the Marvel Cinematic Universe's preeminent spy, it would make sense that Natasha would have a similar send-off. Because I mean, yeah, Natasha and Scarlett Johansson deserve not only some recognition from the Avengers, but from us. Not just for paving the way for female superheroes, for being an integral part of this universe from pretty much the beginning, earlier even than Captain America or Thor. And I think this small moment would have been the perfect end to her story. Oh, and one more thing. Speaking of spies, I watched a really interesting documentary called Spies of War on this video sponsor, CuriosityStream, and I wanted to share one super interesting thing that I learned. I think you'll enjoy it. So the Allied forces had a plan on June 6, 1944, also known as D-Day, to storm the beaches of Normandy. It's a pretty well-known plan. One thing the Allied forces did to ensure the success of that plan is deceive the Nazis into thinking they were going to launch other operations in other parts of Europe. And one part of their deception campaign, which I swear this is all true, is the Allied forces created a fleet of inflatable tanks. The idea was they would create a lot of these tank look-alike balloons, put them all in a field, and try to trick the Nazi army into thinking that was another part of the Allied army, and the Nazi army would need to spread itself thin to defend against all these new armies that were actually just a bunch of balloons. That's right, to win World War II, the Allied forces employed the same technology utilized by the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Isn't that crazy? And you can learn more about spies and nature and technology from this video sponsor, CuriosityStream. Founded by the founder of the Discovery Channel, CuriosityStream is a subscription streaming service that offers over 2,400 documentaries, nonfiction titles from some of the world's best filmmakers, including exclusive originals. So if you want to watch documentary series like Spies of War right now, you can get unlimited access starting at just $2.99 a month, and the first 30 days are completely free if you sign up at curiositystream.com/Nando and use the promo code NANDO, N-A-N-D-O, during the sign-up process. The link is in the episode description. As always, I have to thank everyone who continues to support the channel on Patreon. You guys are the best. If you want to see your name up here, get access to videos early, other cool stuff, throw in literally any amount of money at patreon.com/NandoVMovies. You have no idea how much I appreciate it. And I know I say that every week, exactly the same way every week, but I really mean it. Everybody that supports my channel on Patreon it's so cool. It's so helpful. Definitely, if you haven't considered it yet, give it a look and see if other creators you like have Patreons and think about supporting them too. It's a great way to show the creators that you really like that you care. And as always, listen to my podcast, Mostly Nitpicking. Every week, me and my co-host DJ, we pick apart a piece of pop culture by looking exclusively at the details. We've done Toy Story recently, Men in Black International, Godzilla, King of Monsters. That one's really funny. You can go into the backlog and listen to our Crimes of Grindelwald episode, which I listened to recently and I think is so great. You can find us wherever you listen to your podcasts. We are at Nitpicking Pod on Twitter, and rate and review the show if you enjoy it. That always helps. Oh, also, I've been Twitch streaming recently, twitch.tv/NandoVMovies. It's been a lot of fun. I've had the thing up for a couple of weeks, and in the last couple of weeks, I have done Chex Paper, one stream. Hopefully in the future I'll do more than that. I'm thinking about doing them after a big movie release. So like I want to talk about them on the podcast, but also that usually takes about a week to put out. So if you want to know what I think of a movie that weekend, if you should see it or not, maybe I'll do like a Twitch stream. I'll do a live Q&A kind of thing. Just play, 5-minute game or something like that. Give my first impressions. And then maybe I'll throw that on the Patreon. If you guys think that's a good idea, let me know. Tweet it at me. Speaking of tweet it at me, follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/NandoViewMovies. It's where I post updates on videos and podcasts, and where I talk about how in the first Avengers movie, Thor and Loki sound completely different because they're super Shakespearean. I really enjoyed that. I wish they would bring that back. I understand why it doesn't really fit. The character spent too much time on Earth, but that was really cool. That's the kind of really, really groundbreaking content that you could find on my Twitter account. So twitter.com/NandoViewMovies. That's all I got. I'll see you next time.